Demarcus Lawrence, Micah Parsons, Anthony Brown, Trayvon Diggs. A game of almost for this defensive squad was still enough to put a stop to Taysom Hill in New Orleans at a one-sided affair. Compliments of Dan Quinn and company. We discuss that and more on this episode of Noise of the Boys. Cowboy Nation, what is happening? Live and in living color, we bring to you the Noise of the Boys podcast, a Dallas Cowboys Homer exclusive from our studio at HQ1. I am your co-host, color commentator, Matt Longoria, and with me as always, my right-hand dude, sitting to my left, Uncle C. Tom.
What's up, everybody? Matt and I are just two true blue, over-the-top, die-hard fanatics that come together to help you celebrate those wins, but still find those silver and blue linings in those losses. We are here to make some noise about the boys. How are we feeling today, Matt Long?
One can only guess how I'm feeling after a victory on a primetime Thursday night. And not many times do we get to say we celebrate a victory Friday, but no better way to go into a weekend knowing your team caught a win, and you can sit back and relax and enjoy the games on Sunday. What do you say?
Yeah. What a game. Obviously there's some things that are disappointing and some things that are frustrating, but there's a lot to be excited about, and there's a lot for us to look forward to. So it's not an easy place to play. It was an ugly win, but you know what? A win is a win, and that is all that matters, Cowboys Nation. So let's go, Cowboy Nation. Let's go. We're starting that with that winning streak. These last 6 games, I'm ready.
For the first time in 13 years, the Dallas Cowboys pick up a win in the Silver Dome. We are ecstatic about that. It doesn't matter what kind of team you're facing in New Orleans. The Saints are the Saints, and it's important we go marching in on them. So we just get right back.
Nice.
We'll just get right into it.
See what you did there.
Thank you very much. I worked really hard on that. I thought about that before I went to bed last night.
Very nice.
Let's discuss some winners and losers in this one. I have a sneaking suspicion that the majority of winners will come from this Dallas defense, namely in Parsons and Lawrence and Brown.
Yep. My biggest winner from this game is going to be Demarcus Lawrence. If you listen to our pregame show, you know that I said that I'm a big fan of Lawrence. I was very excited for him to be coming back. I was very excited to see what he could do after all this time off. Man, Demarcus Lawrence looked like he didn't miss a single step. This guy was out there absolutely balling. Started the game, the very first drive of the game that he was on the field, started with 3 tackles on the drive. One of them was a tackle for loss, which he held. I think it was a combined tackle for loss with somebody else, but nevertheless, it was a TFL on 3rd down. And that's where you miss Demarcus Lawrence. You miss that presence, that defensive presence of being able to make some stuff disrupt some stuff on the defensive end. So I can't say enough about this guy. Came out to freaking play.
Oh, yeah, and I think that's an understatement. Look, professional or not, a 10-week injury is enough to make certain someone comes out and plays rusty. In fact, Dan Quinn was one to say that he expected Lawrence full well to be playing rusty, and at the end of the game, he retracted that statement and said that was not the case. I do have some stats here on D-Law just to underline the impact that he made with just his presence. He had 2 pass breakups, 2 tackles, 2 pressures, and a QB hit on Tatum. And although he didn't get to put Taysom in the dirt behind the line, his presence alone aided his teammates in an effort to make 2 sacks and 4 interceptions, holding Hill to a 46% completion rating on 41 passes.
Yeah, Demarcus Lawrence, like I said, absolute dog in the most complimentary of ways. I want to reference a tweet that I found here at John Owning. I hope I'm saying that right. Demarcus Lawrence finished with a team-high 6 pressures versus the Saints, while also recording a 24.1% pass rush win rate. That was the second best on the team. I'm assuming first best was going to be Parsons. Demarcus Lawrence, I mean, he literally looked like there was no rust. Came right out the gate, was involved in every sort of way. They were saying on the broadcast that Demarcus Lawrence probably could have gone a week or 2 earlier. They were waiting on certain things to be flush and perfect, and he came right out looking flush and looking like he hadn't missed a beat. So maybe it's a good thing that he got those couple of extra weeks of rest. We had some other guys that were playing at a high level that allowed him to get those extra weeks. But I can say for one that I am super glad that to see him come out, play at that kind of level. One of the main reasons that I'm going to say that D-Law is my number one winner from this game, that pass that was ruled incomplete, it was a play in the fourth quarter. So anything that you do in the fourth quarter is huge in my eyes. It was ruled on the field at first initially as a fumble. It was the play where he jumped across and knocked the ball out. What an athletic play. That was insane. I was hype as hell. I was jumping around. I was like, let's go, D-Law. D-Law is my guy, man. Unfortunately, they did say that his arm was barely coming forward, and it could have gone either way, but whatever.
Arguable, for sure.
Whatever. It's fine. True Blue Nation knows that it probably was a fumble. It's all good. But D-Law, what a game, man. What a way to come back and make a statement and say, this is my defense too.
To say the least. Defense wins championships, ladies and gentlemen. And if you tuned into the game last night, you witnessed a defensive win, a very much complimentary defensive win. You still get contributions from the likes of Anthony Brown and Micah Parsons. Man, I felt like all game it was just us getting so close to bringing Taysom to the ground, and he just got out of there. And then eventually, I want to say it was in the third quarter, Micah Parsons just trusted the guys behind him and just went for it, finally threw him on the ground. I jumped out of my seat. I was so happy to see that. Elated, actually. It was almost as good as going into a weekend on a Victory Friday. I'll just say that.
It was the first play of the fourth quarter. Not trying to correct you or anything, but it was the first play of the fourth quarter. Like I said, anything that happens in the fourth quarter, especially when the game is tight, is really big in my eyes. So Micah Parsons stepping up when it matters again. Not only was it in the fourth quarter, but it was a sack on third down against a guy that had been just killing us with his legs. And Micah absolutely just showed that closing speed, just closed in on him, sacked his ass, brought him to the turf finally. Was so sick of watching that guy run all over us. Micah Parsons, man, what an absolute beast. The lion is going to feed. He's going to eat. Micah, dude, the closing speed, ridiculous. He's a scary guy.
My dude, Anthony Brown, looking to make his presence known in a healthy comeback and try not to draw too many flags in comparison to last Thursday or last Thanksgiving.
He had a great game.
Definitely a bounce-back game for sure. I would say he came into this game with a chip on his shoulder, looking to prove some people wrong. And yes, while there are one or two plays, I think that he definitely won it back. Some giant plays. He still played good nonetheless.
Everybody's going to torch him for... I believe it was him that got burned on that touchdown pass, but wasn't that because of an illegal pick? Well, it should have been called an illegal pick.
There was an illegal pick, and then there was one that was executed properly.
I think that was the one. Those are tough. When you call man coverage and there's a pick play, most of the time, unless your defense is elite, your secondary is top of the league, knows exactly what is coming their way. Those are really, really tough to guard against in the NFL. Those pick plays, and then also the long over crossing routes, which we saw they tried to do. They had it wide open. That was their first touchdown, was a crossing route, and then they had it again. Thank God Taysom Hill missed him on that play. Threw it really, really short, but yes. We are seeing our defense get consistently beat on those two plays. So really that's my only complaint about defense. Also, we'll get into how they played against the run as well, but I thought our secondary played really, really well.
As a fan of the game, my pride tends to speak to me, and you hate to see injuries in the league, in the NFL, especially early on when Taysom jammed his finger on a throw. It turns out he tore a ligament.
Unfortunate for him. Good on him for continuing to play. Right. He's a tough guy. In
a game where you want the Cowboys to win. While I obviously do feel bad, no one's sitting around feeling bad for us.
No, nobody is. If anything, we're getting laughed at.
I'm not necessarily going to laugh at Taysom
Hill.
Taysom Hill. I'm thinking of the NBA and Boston. No, Taysom Hill. I don't necessarily feel bad. It is what it is. We're going to do what we have to do. It's the league. It's contact. It's physical. So it's to be expected.
Yeah, this was the Trainers Room Bowl, if you want to call it anything. I think the Saints are the number one most injured team in the league, and we were number 2 leading up to that game. So both teams were, pretty much just destroyed by injuries. So it was pretty much a wash. We could call it a wash. Both teams were dealing with a lot. Obviously, the Saints had a lot more injuries on offense, and that's why we saw them struggle so bad. But at the same time, it's the NFL. What you send out there is what you send out there. There's no excuses. At least that's what I've heard about my team. No excuses for the injuries.
Demarcus Lawrence was definitely missed. It's no secret that the Dallas defense struggles against the run. I don't know where we fall statistically, but just having watched all 12 games thus far, that's not our strong suit for sure. But I will say that with the presence of Demarcus Lawrence on big drives that they have, especially the ones where they kept direct snap to Hill and he would just take off. And we struggled. I really feel with the presence of Demarcus Lawrence, and eventually we'll get Gallimore and Gregory back. We'll see that minimized a little bit. I'm really anticipating seeing that, but you can see what kind of impact that D-Law makes just as a whole for his defense.
Yeah, like you said, in the run game, I've got the stats pulled up here. It looks like we're middle of the pack as far as how we rank against the run. 111 yards per game. So obviously, there's some things that we could do a lot better on the defensive end. And I think that having D-Law back, getting Randy and getting Gallimore back, hopefully that will help. Because we know a lot of Cowboys fans, we know that Brent Urban is done for the season. That's a huge loss. That guy was playing really, really well against the run. He was really clogging things up there for us. So we're going to need to get Randy and we're going to need to get Gallimore back so that we can be more effective against the run in terms of our defense. Because, as good as Odigizua is, he can't do everything by himself. And when you're one of the few guys that's left on the team and you have to just continuously bang, bang, bang right into the wall, you start to wear down. So having those players come back and having a healthier rotation for our defensive line, there's nothing but positive things that are going to come of that.
When you're playing with the same guys for so long, when guys are out with injuries, it kind of disrupts the rotation that you've got going on when you stick your starter back in there. And we fully anticipated to see many miscues on the defensive end, but we just didn't really see that. I felt like this was more so a one-sided game in terms of the defense taking over as opposed to the offense, and we'll definitely get to that. But you just can't say enough about the defensive production yesterday. Do you want to talk about the interceptions?
Absolutely. We have to. This team is one of the top teams in the league as far as interceptions. A lot of that has to do with Trevon Diggs. He's been huge. We know what he's done this season. But for a while, we had 2 interceptions that weren't Diggs. The first pick that we got out of the 4 was a route up the sideline. I think it was to Humphrey that they were throwing it to. Parsons had outstanding coverage, made a PBU on the ball. Kirsch just comes out of nowhere with a diving attempt and ends up completing it for an interception.
Giant effort play. Well, just looking at it live, you're like, no way. He's definitely out of bounds. But good on him for catching it at least.
Yeah, and they called it on the field an interception. So the refs a lot better this game. There were still some missed calls, but
I hate to cut you off there, but that's the call you make. That is the call you need to make, especially when it's up in the air and you're like, got no idea. Don't call it on the field that it's incomplete. You have no idea. So take advantage of the replay system and say, yes, he caught it. Go take a deeper look at it. And this way, this could be a better flowing game. It's better officiated. And that's what a good official does. No slack to Sean Hockley, but take some notes, gentlemen.
You saw the flow of the game was a lot easier for both teams. They both struggled to get things going, but hey, it's Thursday night football. What else do we expect, right? But the good thing is it wasn't because of the referees. As far as the flow of the game and the struggles from the game wasn't because of the referees. But getting back to Curse, that was an outstanding effort play, diving to the turf, catching that thing, controlling it all the way to the ground, dragging his feet while half of his body's out of bounds. That is a tough play to make. The next one, the Saints pick up
honorable mention to Mike Parsons for breaking up that pass. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he had a lot to do with it. He played really, really well in coverage yesterday. But as far as that play with Curse, that one was really, really big because that one, they looked like they were getting ready to go down and score. They were at least going to get a field goal out of that possession. And we come up with a takeaway, which is something we've done all year. So outstanding play by Curse. He's been a great addition to this team. The second interception, the Saints had just picked up a 4th and 8, which was really frustrating. I hate when my team allows a 4th down conversion. So I was pretty down after that 4th down conversion. And then Lewis, gets his hand on the ball comes out wobbly, and DeMonte KZ comes up with an interception. His second of the year. His first one was against the Chargers. So only his second pick of the season, but came in a big way.
Yes, and these last two, look, it's not lost on us that Taysom Hill was hurt. Okay, we know that he was struggling to throw the football, and we obviously know now why it was such a huge impact on his finger. And I believe it depends on how you throw it. The football, as you throw it, it does roll off your middle finger last to go. It just depends on how you throw it. But you could really tell it was making an impact on his throws. So that third one did end up going to Trayvon, but it was wildly underthrown. It might have actually been. It might have actually been tipped. I'm not entirely certain, or there just might have been a disruption.
I'm not sure, but it was not a very well thrown football at all.
Certainly easy pickings, but nonetheless, you do have Trayvon Diggs picking up his 9th interception of the season, which was a sight for sore eyes for us, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, they were handing out Christmas presents, so Diggs was going to get one. I think we all were kind of just waiting on it. Like, where's Diggs, man? Diggs needs to get his. It's been a little while, so good to see him get another one. And then the fourth one, obviously, was the one that completely put the game on ice. At this point, I was sitting back, relaxing, like, this game's wrapped up. They're gonna keep driving, and they may get a touchdown or a field goal. It's gonna be in garbage time, but I think it was like 2 minutes left, 2 minutes and 50 seconds left, and Carlos Watkins comes out of nowhere, the big man with a pick six. So
and he read it perfectly.
Yeah, he sure did. He really did. He made a nice play on the ball. Pick six. I'm not sure how many of those he's going to have in his career, so I'm sure he was super hyped about that one.
We may have seen the first and last.
Yeah, it's possible. But man, what a game. Whenever your defensive lineman is picking the ball up and taking it to the house, stiff arming their quarterback in the face to score. You just know it's a good day for your defense.
I want to add on to why that's fantastic. There was a flag thrown as that play started to develop. As the ball was snapped, us as an audience couldn't tell why, because they were actually coming off of an instant replay. So the flag was in the air as they were coming back to the production.
Not to cut you off, but normally when that happens, somebody's lined up offsides.
Right. So we automatically assume free play, and usually when that happens, you do see the defense on their heels. And in this instance, he stayed sharp. He continued to make his read. Obviously caught the ball, and the rest is history. Good effort play on him. It could have been easy enough for him to think, free play. They're gonna convert huge on this one, but he still made his effort known.
Great play, great job by the defense. My biggest complaint though is really just gonna come from, we got to figure out a way to stop people from being effective in the run game. And like I said, we're getting some guys back. Hopefully that helps out with some things. I'm sure with Randy and D-Law at the defensive end position, that's going to push Micah Parsons up to the second level. And don't get it twisted, Cowboys Nation. That's where we want Micah Parsons. That's where he is the most dangerous. Now, we don't want him in coverage all the time. He's very, very good at rushing the passer, which we obviously know. But he's going to be the most effective when you can put him in the second level and let him do a number of things. So looking forward for this defense to get better against the run as we get more and more people back. I do want to talk about this offense. We need to move in to talking about this offense. I'm sure Cowboys Nation, I'm sure you're all pretty disappointed with the way that this offense played. Seemed like it was, wow, there we are, yay, we're back. And then the very next play is like, oh, what are we doing, man? So very up and down from the offense. Dak started out 0 for 2, first drive, and went 3 and out. That is not what we wanted to see.
No, you're definitely right. And I think if you look back at the stats, we counted them up. We came out with 5 3-and-outs over the course of the whole game. Extremely frustrating. It almost felt like a boring game because our defense was just simply doing their job. And the part of the game where you're excited and you want to see your stars going off. For me, in terms of the offense this game, it kind of felt like, I don't know if anybody's ever played with the Brunson Burnham before, but it's got those sparks and you've got that little handle and you're trying to spark it and light it up, and that's what it felt like. And it just felt like we couldn't get enough spark plays to get this offense rolling. I know Dak threw a pick, and man, if you look at the instant replay, it was just a clear miss by the officials here. He got smacked in the face, should have been an obvious. If you're not going to call it a face mask, you're going to definitely call it roughing the passer. As we know, the new rule says you can't go anywhere above the waist.
Or you mean above the neck?
Above the neck, rather. But
he got smacked in the face, and it was as he was throwing the ball. So that's going. And if you didn't see it, go back and watch, and we'll put it up on the screen. But he got smacked in the face, and Dak is not. I mean, CD was streaking. There was definitely a play to be made there. So that was a huge missed call. We definitely wanted to see a big time connection for a touchdown from one of our receivers. The fourth down that we didn't convert, I want to talk a little bit about that. What did you see on that play?
Honestly, it just looked like a miscue. I thought that CD had an assignment, and he was. I honestly thought that CD did his job, and Dak just missed him. But as we discussed before the show, it appears that at least from Troy Aikman's perspective, he does say as a receiver you have to read the field, and he shows the instant replay in the middle of the field's wide open. So in that instance, that's what Dak Prescott's thinking. So he just assumes CD's going to make that play where it's open. He puts it to him, but it just looked like he put it behind him and put him in a bad spot. But who knows? Just a miscue altogether.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. That's what I saw as well. Obviously, the broadcast, I think Troy Aikman does a good job of breaking down plays like that. Dak, I mean, it could have been a better ball. CD probably should have turned inside. Regardless, this is what happens when you have guys missing time. That relationship and that continuity kind of goes away, and it takes time for it to build back up, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But that was a big play. It was fourth down, and there was a huge play to be made there. So that's 2 between Dak and CD that didn't get made. Like you said, game of almost. That's why it's so frustrating.
Right, and it just so happens that this was a 4-and-out to add to our 5 3-and-outs. But I will play the other side of the coin here and say that the reason you miss guys like CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper are for those big giant plays, and I'll put them on the screen here. There's one where Dak Prescott sneaks it into Lamb's and into the pocket. Basically, it's a pocket pass.
Man, that was a beautiful throw. That is a throw that elite quarterbacks make.
And CD almost seemed to not expect it, but made the play on the ball, caught it like he's supposed to, and made a big play out of it. There was also a play by Amari Cooper. I believe it went for 50 plus. Just man,
it was 41 yards. That was actually the following drive too. After the fourth down miscue, so it's like they went 41-yard big play to Cooper. Then it was the screen to CD where he just put Malcolm Jenkins on skates. My God, that was dirty. Absolutely juked him out of his socks. And then, of course, Michael Gallup goes up, grabs the catch, comes down. It's a touchdown. Should have came right back up. Threw up that X because he looked just like Des Bryant. That was a hell of a catch. This guy needs to get a friggin' patent on those toe tap sideline catches. That guy is a beast.
Man, our 3 main receivers really showed up to play today in the best way.
And Coop had limited snaps too.
Yes.
So the fact that he was able to contribute with a big pass play, 41 yards, that's huge. And I'm sure him just being out there for key like third downs and red zone snaps, that's going to open things up. And obviously his conditioning will get better. We'll see more of Cooper as the season goes on, but lots to be excited about. We saw flashes there, right? Especially on that drive, 3 big plays from all of your starting 3 receivers. So moving forward, that's the silver and blue lining. We have something to look forward to.
Certainly, but it was really difficult to watch this run game. And our pregame show, we definitely talked about establishing the run. There was just nothing there up the middle. I know Caleb's got a stat that he's about to share with us, but man, change it up a little bit. I mean, Caleb, I'm going to give credit to him. He asked if Scott Linehan was running this offense this game. Jeez. What was happening?
Lots of plays running it up the A gap, and I'm not sure what the thought process was there. And this is what we were talking about in the pregame. We've seen a lot of really solid stuff from Kellen Moore, like that incomplete fourth down with Dak and CD. That play was there. That's on the players. They have to execute that. But so that's a nice call. So those are the ups, and then you see the downs where we're running like 12 times or something like that into the back of our linemen in the A gap, and we're just constantly over and over getting stuffed. At a certain point, when do you make adjustments? Zeke Elliott is hurt, and you're continuing to run him into a pile of guys and have him push the pile on a bum knee. I absolutely hated that. We saw the big run plays come when they were going to the outside or they were off tackle. Obviously, Tony Pollard had the huge touchdown. Tony Pollard, he made that play himself. It wasn't because of great blocking, wasn't exactly the best play design.
In fact, it was almost a tackle for a loss.
Yeah. It seemed like almost every single play that was a run play, our running backs were either getting hit in the backfield before, like as soon as they touch the ball, getting hit in the backfield, or they're being run straight up behind the center. It makes zero sense. I don't understand. I don't know what happened to the motion, the misdirection, all of those things. If you're not able to consistently do well by running into the A gap, you need to run some motion. We just gotta, when the run game isn't working and you're constantly getting stuffed by trying to run in between the tackles, that's when you're supposed to start threatening with the jet sweep and threatening with misdirection, and just never really seemed like any of that happened. I mean, I didn't understand the play calling in the run game. You've got two elite backs that can make people miss, and I just didn't understand why they were just throwing them into the wall. I mean, Kellen Moore, he is running Zeke into the dirt, trying to get every last snap out of that guy before they trade him and cut him, I guess. I don't understand what the thought process there is there.
I'd love to be an advocate for Kellen Moore, but before I can officially do that, you expect a guy like him to go and sit down in this film room. And when you're in film room, your only job isn't to figure out what didn't work. You're supposed to figure out what works. And two plays, I believe it combined for about 90 yards where we ran it. It was not in the A gap.
It was the toss play to Pollard, and it was actually a screen to CD, but it was a backwards lateral, so it goes down as a pass play. Those were the big run plays. But even when you saw Zeke bust one to the outside, he picked up a first down, ran out of bounds. That was an outside run play. So you even saw Zeke have a little bit of success when you're not just slamming him into a wall. So, I mean, I'm not a football coach. I don't know anything apparently, but I just feel like there's a better way to get production out of the run game. Hopefully we can adjust and fix that moving forward.
And on the topic of Zeke, specifically quoting that run play where he broke one out to the left, he was very, very obviously nursing an injury. We're looking forward to this 10-day break because I'm not sure to what extent he's injured. Obviously, the coaching staff and the officials and the trainers think that he's good. He's good to go, but you can tell that he's been limited by that knee. He just did not look like himself on that run with all of that room. You expected him to break one for a big one. It just wasn't. I mean, it just didn't happen. But stuff like that is definitely an eye opener. But again, 10-day stretch. Let's see what recovery can happen in that process and see how he comes out next Sunday against Washington.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to need him for sure. Even if they do rest him for Washington, I think that they can get enough production out of Pollard and supplementing the run game with short outside swing passes and things like that. I think that you have to rest Zeke. You've got to protect this guy from himself. He's not just going to come out just because. He's not going to say, I'm a sit. Like, the guy is a warrior. He wants to play. He wants to fight. He wants to be part of this team. He wants to be right next to Dak as the leader of this team. So the coaches have to make that decision. Will they? I don't know.
We'll definitely give you guys some updates later on this week. Again, 10-day stretch, so we've got a lot to cover. So before our pregame going into Washington, we'll definitely cover some injuries and some updates on those things and see who's been made available and activated for this upcoming game.
Yeah. One thing that I do want to touch on, a key moment in the game, we're waiting on this offense to kind of take off, and we're kind of waiting for this offense to explode, right? We're in the red zone. We're getting ready to score before the half, and then Tyrann gets called for a holding penalty that backs us up. we have to settle for a field goal. It's those kind of things that we're looking to expedite. We're looking for those things to get better as time goes on. We can't have plays like that, in the red zone, or we can't have the miscues like the Dak to CD throws. So hopefully that all of that gets fixed as we move forward.
Absolutely. And if I can move into my final thoughts, we expect the offense to get a little bit better, especially as we continue to get healthy and play together at full strength. We're gonna see that offense lose the rust that we did see here in this game, especially with Amari working on his conditioning. He's fresh off of COVID and he had limited snaps. I think that we'll see an incline in terms of production.
Yeah. Final thoughts. My bold prediction was right there. Demarcus Lawrence, like I said, came out, played his ass off. He did have the tackle for losses that I predicted. Almost had 1 sack. I felt like I said, should have been called a sack. Some BS. But regardless, he came out to play. My bold prediction was that he would get 2 TFLs and 2 sacks. He got 2 or 3 TFLs and almost had 1 sack. So lots of pressures as well. My bold prediction, if we're just going to grade on a curve here, I'm going to go ahead and say that my bold prediction was correct.
Mine was probably on the opposite end, but I'm not upset. Look, my prediction was 8 catches for 150. He ended up CD Lamb ended up with 7 for 89. Who knows? Maybe he gets one more and he goes for 60. But that did not happen, and I'm fine with it. I'll give myself a D- for my prediction. But follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify Podcasts as well, and leave reviews. It doesn't matter how much you hate it or how much you love us. Leave us a review because it helps us support the channel and push us into that algorithm. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've made it this far, we want to thank you for your time and attention and hope that you've learned something of value here in the last half hour. Smash that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and activate that bell button so that you can be the first to know when a new episode of Noise of the Boys podcast is dropped. And with that, we are out of here. Matt Long and Uncle C. Tom, and we will see each and every one of you next time.
Peace.